Rousey and Adrian coming at you for another Two Beards Reviews episode on Giant Killers. Let's go. G'day, Sheila's beard brethren, fuckheads, and just all around legends. Welcome to another review episode of Welcome to Wrexham Season 2. This episode entitled is Giant Killers. Wow, that was an interesting episode. Uh,
Crazy.
obviously, it took place around the FA Cup run, the epic FA Cup run that we had last season, and it was had everything. It had the tears, it had the laughs, had the tenseness, the juicy stuff that was going on. And it was probably, the RFA Cup run was definitely one of the most memorable experiences I've had in a long
Yeah,
time.
for sure.
Um, and
100%.
this episode, I think, it tried to capture that vibe. Adrian,
100%. Yeah, look, mate, it was honestly one of those ones where, you know, people on Twitter or people on social media are like, when are we going to be watching, talking about the football? When are we going to be talking about the football? Well, you got it, guys. That was all football and that was all heart. It was all about the cup. And there is a reason why in the FA Cup it's called the magic of the cup, because it's magic. It is literally people, who might get the chance to play against future Premier League teams like what Sheffield United were at the time and now are in the Premier League. We wouldn't get that normally. So for us to be able to see that, not just as a fan, as a obviously a football fan, but to then see it again in the Welcome to Wrexham lens, just added something else special to it. And dude, it all kicked off around that Coventry game. And I don't know about you, mate, but that was one which, when I watched it again, I just couldn't wipe the smile off my face. What about you?
there was a real special moment that Coventry game, and I guess a real special moment for me because that was the moment that my allegiances completely switched, and Coventry really became nothing but another team on my radar, maybe one that I look back on and watch, but that was the moment. And what a game. And they really spent a lot of time on that game. I felt they spent more time on Coventry than they did on Sheffield United. Um, but obviously, we had the two games with Sheffield United. They kind of rushed over that third game a little bit, or the replay
Yeah.
at Bramall Lane. But honestly, like, it brought back so many memories for me. It brought
Yeah,
back
it's that
so
Elliot
many.
Lee goal, mate.
Oh,
It's the Dolby's first goal, like where he's running into the crowd, and also just seeing that whole end down at down at Coventry of just Wrexham fans. I think they said there was 4,000 fans of just Wrexham fans in that end. And it would be, if you were a neutral fan and you didn't know any better, you'd almost think it was a Wrexham home game just because of the amount of noise that was coming out of that end. And, speaking specifically to the doco, that was, yeah, it was just seeing it in another lens and also seeing how behind the scenes as well. So getting to see them in the rooms talk
mm.
about, there is no expectation here. It is just go out, do your job, forget about the hype or whatever outside those doors. The minute you walk through, Parky really instilled in. Yeah, he dropped a couple of F-bombs, and I mean, I don't know,
Did you
something about that was
feel?
amazing.
Did you feel that? I think more so in this episode than previous episodes where they've featured our men, there was more of that behind the scenes this time. There was more of
For sure.
in the change room at halftime afterwards. Like, they really, really showed a lot more of that. You got to see the emotions that the boys go through, and I really felt like that was a good, like, that was the connection we were missing from the
Yeah.
first couple of episodes, is, and that is what we want to watch. That's what we, are going on about. And I
And
felt
it's
that
it's what we've come
connection
to
was great.
expect. It's what we've come to expect. And I think that that's where we talk about expectations about the season. Season one was obviously the first time many of us have ever kind of seen anything like it. And it's what drew us in. But obviously, it was the club that made you stick around. But it's that's what I think a lot of people were missing. And I think a lot of the people like us who are now quite, club obsessed, we're focused around the players. We talk about it on a weekly. We have a podcast, Two Beards, a podcast, Wrexham AFC, and we talk about it a lot. But that is
Great
why I
plug.
think we were, yeah, great plug. It's one of those things we come to expect, right? So when it wasn't being shown, even though it was probably similar last season in terms of the first season, I think we just came to expect it and hope for a bit more. But seeing the behind the scenes, seeing even just the post match against Sheffield. Let's talk about the last game. Obviously, we can talk about the good moments. I just want to rip the band-aid off between the heart wrenching part, and I want to end it on the good little bits and pieces. But right towards the end, Parky has him in the room, and we literally see as soon as they've sat down, you're seeing players who are heartbroken. You see Luke Young just in tears, basically, red eyes, people hiding in their shirts, and then you had Ryan Reynolds come in, and look, I was like, oh God, this is probably not the time for him to speak, but I think it was. His speech moved me
Mm,
weirdly when I thought I was like, oh, this is just going to be a cheesy Hollywood moment. No, it moved me to tears. It was
yeah.
beautiful.
No, I think you're right. They did kind of gloss over that replay game a little bit more than what I would have liked, and they didn't really show what happened in the race after the game, obviously with the incident with Billy Sharp.
Yep.
I like that they mic'd up Parky, and you got to hear what Parky was saying to Billy Sharp. I mean, let me just say this: "Fuck you, Billy Sharp, you dumb cunt." Anyway,
It's all right.
um,
He
we'll
he
move
was
on from
worried
that.
about super. He was worried about Hollywood, mate. He was always harping on about Hollywood this, Hollywood that.
Oh,
Well, guess what?
idiot.
Guess who's playing in Hollywood for LA Galaxy right now and not making the fucking side? Billy Sharp.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
got moved on, so you didn't
yeah.
even make Premier League, mate. You're a fucking
Oh,
knob.
hey. He can suck a dick. Anyway,
Yep.
but yeah, so I did feel like they kind of glossed over that last game a little bit too quickly.
Yep.
And they probably could have shown a little bit more about what went on afterwards.
Yep.
So that's the only, I think, the strike that I'll put against the episode.
Yep.
But overall, fantastic episode. It was great to relive those moments. Great to relive the moment that really cemented me as a Wrexham follower. Die hard Wrexham till I die. Um, and yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like, it was just great. It was just that last little bit just felt a little rushed.
Yeah, and I think you
Um,
could I think you could be onto something there. It is something that I even when they cut to the fact that you could see the score was 1-1 before they'd even talked about the
yeah,
replay, I was like, well, it was actually quite a epic battle. We got to the 90th minute. We got basically it was 1-1 to the 90th. And yes, they scored too late and they won 3-1 and
well, yeah,
Billy
they
Sharp
ran
had
out
a
of
fucking
legs, and
parade.
they obviously
But
mentioned they ran out of legs, but
yeah, but
yeah,
it would have been nice to see it because I think half the reason that we all fell in love with the first season was we saw the heartache, like the Grimsby match, where they
mm,
had the goals going in and it was just heartbreaking and it hurt. But you needed to have that hurt to feel something for the club.
mm,
I felt like we really harped on about the wins and we were like, look at us against Coventry and look at us against that draw against Sheffield, at the racecourse, which was it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, it was incredible, and it's something that people will talk about for years to come. But the final one being, that last game against Sheffield, yeah, was glossed over, and yeah, you're right, could have been maybe handled differently. But I think at the end of the day, there's only so much they can put in the doco, and that's my kind of
yeah. I
excuse
mean,
for
you
it is
gotta you gotta
you can only
squeeze
put so
as
much.
you gotta squeeze as much as you can into the 40 minutes that they had for this episode.
Yeah,
Um, whether that means they probably could have just changed a few things around. They probably could have done that, but you know what? All in all, it was a great episode. It was very enjoyable to watch. And Rousey's rating for this episode is going to be a 10 out of 10, but I'm not giving it the Elliot Lee. Doesn't quite push it
Wow,
enough.
because you harped on about how much they skipped over it. I didn't think you'd give it that good of a rating. I
Oh
think,
no, it was a brilliant episode. It was a great episode, but what let it down was just that ending just felt a little bit rushed. And I've got to put my critics hat on. But
but he still
the
gives it
the
a 10 out
moment
of
with
10.
Ryan Reynolds, the moments with the boys in the change rooms, like it just made the episode solid 10 out of 10 for me, but not Elliot Lee standards. So, Adrian, what do you?
So just for context, people, so you might be going, well, hold on, he was critical of it, but it was a 10 out of 10. I don't understand. Take it with a grain of salt. That's Rousey's version of a 9 out of 10 because Elliot Lee, the big joke, is that one little extra point is what we give, that'll, turn it to 11. That's kind of the idea we go for here at Two Beards. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it was an epic episode. I think it showcased the players a lot better. I think it showcased the matches a lot more, which I think I was dying to see. Even seeing Rob, he watching from Philadelphia. I remember when that was happening, reading tweets that he was over there and seeing on TV during watching the matches live, seeing Ryan in the crowd. So again, to see the owners be so emotional, be so vulnerable about the club means it gives that extra rating for me. It gives me that next level. And yeah, look, that could have probably made it a little bit more focus around the last little bit of that game. But honestly, all in all, 9 out of 10. And the last thing I want to bring across to you before you wrap up, mate. How was it seeing Elliot Lee being interviewed on the screen for you as a big Elliot Lee fan? Just
I just want to give the guy a hug.
there it is.
I love him. Love him. Okay, so that's it for another week of our review episodes. We will be back next week with another one as they release, and we'll also be back with the podcast. But in the meantime, if you did like this episode, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Links down below for all our programs if you want to become a fuckhead or if you want to get in touch with us. All the links will be in the description below. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Let's go up the town.